believe how much stick I took last week for not starting my Sunday morning with whiskey. I love Aston Villa and I love whiskey. But on a Sunday morning, that's a problem. So I'm going back to coffee again this week. By the way, thanks, lads. Only this week, I think I'm going to add a little bit of, Baileys. Because as you know, everything is better with Baileys. Let's dissect Aston Villa 3, Everton 0. Before we get into the show, I want to apologize by how late these shows are being released, but I really, really want highlights to be included in them because it's the best way to demonstrate issues and moments that change the games. Last week, we worked around it by using filters on those clips. This week, Premier League said no. So my apologies, but we're going to have to figure something out because I really do need those highlights. On with the show. Welcome inside the Villa Parlor, where it is always so nice to be after a resounding victory. Excuse me. Waiter. Yes, we'll have a table-made Caesar salad, please. And also for dessert, Cherries Jubilee. We're celebrating. So as nice as victories like this are, my job is to bring sober second thought to a game like this, because the scoreline was great, but arguably slightly unjustified, just as it was at Chelsea the week before. If you were scoring this like a boxing tilt, Aston Villa probably edged it. If you were looking at it territorially, Aston Villa probably got a little bit better of the proceedings. But just before the 1-0 goal, the Toffees had two very good chances, one of which I'll show you, the second being the Demarai Gray curler that just went wide of the far post for him. So it's important to put this in context. It was probably a flattering scoreline for Villa in the end. Here we go then with the three big issues or moments that defined Aston Villa 3 and Everton 0. And I'll start with an honorable mention. Mings makes amends. He put his hand up for his role in the 2-0 goal that basically killed the Chelsea game off, but I thought he was only 1/3 culpable, as I showed you in great detail during last week's show. But this week he was immense. He was colossal. He was blocking shots. He was winning aerial duels. He was clean with his passing. And for the most part, he played on the left side of that three at the back, which makes perfect sense because he's naturally a lefty, which put Tuanzebe in the middle and Konza to the right. And I can't remember many circumstances where all three of them were turned and frantically chasing back, facing their own goal. They looked really confident. And let's be honest, it does not hurt to have Emi Martinez barking instructions behind you. But I love a guy who goes through adversity, bounces back, rises above, and let's not forget how important he was in the set-piece routines that Aston Villa was drawing up. He is a huge figure in some of those schemes, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later on. As far as significant issues are concerned, honorable mention number 2 has to go to Guinea, who was spinny after the collision from the set piece, which I'll show you a little bit later on, but you could read his lips. He said it was his jaw that was bothering him in the collision. He even had a welt up here in his cheekbone, and he took some time, but then ultimately had to come off. Now, I thought he was having a very good start to this game, and I think he's had a very good start to the season, but concussion protocol worked perfectly here. The substitute came in, the designated concussion sub came in, and you saw when he sat down, you could read his lips again. He said, "I'm not right." And the biggest mistake you can make with concussions, this is important for everybody to know. The first one could be serious. The worst situation is you put the player back out on the field and he has another collision, or he heads the ball or has whiplash from a fall. That's when serious damage can occur. And you know, in the old days, you had your bell rung, you went straight back into the game, and sometimes you had a header right away or another collision. And a lot of those players are still struggling seriously with depression, anxiety, and other cognitive issues. So they play played this one right. Let's keep an eye on it, but hopefully for Guinea's sake, it's just a minor issue. Tactical consequence of John McGinn being substituted was that Douglas Luiz took his spot alongside Jacob Ramsey, and then Marvelous Nakamba came in to do the defensive work in that middle three. And as a team that really wants to punish and be progressive in transitional moments, I'm still not 100% convinced with Douglas Luiz in that role. And there were two beautiful examples on either side of halftime that were so similar, it was eerie, both coming from Martinez claiming the ball and bowling it quickly straight up the middle. The first one, late in the first half, Luiz took a heavy touch, they lost possession, and all of a sudden Villa's defending again rather than progressing the ball and attacking. And then in the second half, same thing. He catches the ball on a cross, bowls it forward. Luiz tried to cut inside, couldn't, lost possession, and that turned into the Iwobi chance, which was just wide of the near post, and Martinez smothered it. But if Villa really want to punish teams in those transitional moments, the 7 seconds when possession changes, I'm still worried about Douglas Luiz in that sense, and we don't know enough about Morgan Sanson because he remains an enigma wrapped in a mystery, surrounded by a rumor, because ever since he's been here, he's been unfit. Now, credit where credit is due, Luiz played a beautiful little ball in behind to release Matt Cash for the 1-0 goal, but the fact remains, those are two great examples I just showed you of a player who could not keep the club in possession or get us into a transitional moment of attack, and that's concerning. And everybody in the offseason wanted Aston Villa to bring in a number 6 big, strong enforcer type, but I don't think that's what they need. In fact, the reason why I believe they were linked to Emile Smith-Rowe and James Ward-Prowse is those two players have shown statistically that they are very good at taking those moments and turning them into ruthless attack. Honorable mention number 3, more fantastic set-piece routines. The best one of the bunch was from the dead ball that was switched to Ezri Konsa. He heads it into his favorite partner, Tyrone Mings, who seems to be central to all of them. He nods it into Danny Ings' wheelhouse. Instead of a bicycle kick into the corner, this time it was a volley over the top left-hand corner, which would have been an absolutely stunning goal. Then there was the one that John McGinn got injured on, where it's sent in by Luiz, great ball. Mings, great flick, and a superb save, it has to be said, by Begovic. And then on the 2-0 goal, inch perfect ball. What can you say? It's impossible to defend that kind of delivery. You could even make the argument that the 3-0 goal was a set piece because that's part of the set piece coach's remit. Restarts from throw-in. Cash goes to Ings. He uses almost a 9-iron to chip it into the path of Leon Bailey because it had to be a set piece. He was waiting in space for that ball to be switched across. It was perfectly played, and boom, it's 3-0. So do you chalk that one up for Aston Villa's set piece coach, Austin McPhee? Number 3, the Toffees' treatment table troubles were definitely a factor in this game. And, you can only play the team that's put in front of you, and Aston Villa won't care what happened to the Toffees. But I cannot imagine that an Everton team with Richarlison or Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Seamus Coleman or Jordan Pickford, for that matter, would have had a less likely chance of getting a result at Villa Park. But again, Villa won't care about that. Asmir Begovic hasn't played a Premier League game since he had a distinguishable hairline. That's how long it's been since he's played a Premier League game. Big moment or issue number 2, Cash is king. And I have to give credit to Thor from the All Things Claret and Blue Facebook group for that catchy title, but I love a guy who scores his first ever goal in front of the Holte End and celebrates the way he did. There was a bit of a you-know-who feel about that celebration, even with the headband thing going on there. But what I love about this goal is it started with a goal kick. 8 passes, lovely touch by Luiz, and he cuts inside and smashes it home. And goals change games. This one happened about 2 minutes after the Damari Gray chance where he just bent it wide of the near post. And Everton was coming into the game. Matty Cash stepped up, had the confidence to drive it with his left foot. What a finish, what a goal, and a hugely significant moment in that game. Now, the one knock on Matty Cash in possession is that he sometimes plays an aimless ball or its end product in general. And we saw a few examples of this before the goal he scored. In fact, there was one that was eerily similar to the goal itself. And I wish I could show you because there's so much to unpack. And it was on one of these breaks, which Aston Villa seem to be getting way more of now that Ollie Watkins is back and that Jacob Ramsey is really excelling. The athleticism and the trouble they're causing creates these transitional moments. And so Aston Villa's on a 4-man break. Ings, Watkins, Louise, and Cash joining on the overlap. Watkins plays it to Cash, probably the wrong ball, and he plays it in behind and it goes all the way out for a throw-in on the other side. But when I watched it again, and I've watched it numerous times and I wish I could show you, is that Ings was in an offside position. Louise basically marked himself out of the game, and Ollie Watkins was in no position to receive that ball either. And had it been the second half, well, maybe Cash takes it on the right foot, cuts in on the defender, and smashes it left foot. Or maybe the ball gets played into Louise. He draws two defenders, either splits them, or then plays in Matty Cash on the overlap. The bottom line to all of this, though, is that here is what Aaron Danks has been brought in to fix, because there are so many of these opportunities, and there have been between this game and the Chelsea game. When you think back, these breaks that occur, and then you had Jacob Ramsey, who got a rush of blood to his head. He steals it and he tried to bend it into the corner. He had two better options on either side, I think Ings and Ollie Watkins. If this area can be tidied up, knowing what your job is in that 4 that attacks in transition, then Aston Villa's expected goals are going to go way up. And the number one big issue or moment in Villa 3, Everton 0, Reggae Boy Wonder. This reminded me an awful lot of Christian Benteke's debut when he scored the 2-0 goal against Swansea. And he kind of announced himself, but also set the bar. He set his stall as an Aston Villa player, and it just went up from there, didn't it? This felt the same way. We talk a lot about Leon Bailey's pace, his speed of thought, all those things. What we don't talk an awful lot about is his set-piece delivery. And this was an inch-perfect, chaos-causing ball that might have even gone in directly. But how do you defend it? What do you do as a goalkeeper? What do you do as a defender? It's coming in with pace, with bend, on target. Tyrone Mings runs past, as do a couple of other Aston Villa players. Absolutely superb. But then the 3-0 goal. The 3-0 goal was like an adrenaline jolt to the entire stadium. I mean, imagine scoring that goal on your home debut in front of the Holte End. It is incredible. And by the way, that could be a set piece, as I've alluded to. Short throw, Danny Ings punches it high, like a rainbow ball that drops in. What a first touch, and then the power after that. I mean, the goalkeeper would have had to have known it was going left-footed and across goal, and yet he still smashed it so hard it flew by Asmir Begovic. There was nothing he could do. It was the classic knockout punch goal that sent everybody to delirium. And I love what he said after, the humility and gratitude of that day, even though it was cut short. This is a special, special player, and he has now set his stall the same way Benteke did. My biggest question is, where does Leon Bailey fit into this team in a way that he can contribute regularly with all the other pieces that Aston Villa has? And I think that's probably a good problem for Dean Smith and company to have. And this is the moment when they were trying to figure out, well, where does Bailey fit in? Does he go in for Ramsey in midfield, or does he go wide for Matt Targett? And because Targett was already playing wide and high, they just thought, well, let's introduce an attacking weapon into that position. And talking about the backroom staff, well, now you've got a team that can score from buildup of possession out of the back. They can score from set pieces, and they've brought in a coach in Aaron Danks, whose job it is to tidy up those transitional moments in attack-oriented possession so that maybe Villa will score more goals on the break, unlike the last 2 weeks. And when you add all those things up, that's an increase in XG, expected goals. And that brings us to our summary of subcategories that we're watching all season long. And there were a couple of pluses this week, including the record at Villa Park, now 7 from 9 points. Watkins and Ings still stuck at 2 goals. Is that a concern, or is their work setting up opportunities for others? Ings got another assist today. You have to give a solid 1 to Austin McPhee for set pieces. The goal off the corner to make it 2-0, although it could have been more. I'm not sure if I'm ready to call Everton a top 6 side just yet. And another clean sheet from the previously quarantined Emi Martinez to make it 2 on the year. And believe it or not, there is progress on the European front. Oh my goodness. After being stuck on the tarmac, after delay upon delay, the plane has not just taxied, it has taken off. Air Bailey is airborne, my friend. So yes, as I've explained, there's things that Aston Villa can tidy up, but I have every faith in the brain trust to do just that. What Aston Villa could really use right now is a high-profile scalp. And they have 2 opportunities this week, at Chelsea for the Cup on Wednesday, and then, of course, the big game at Old Trafford early Saturday morning for me. Circle your calendar for that one because that is a statement game potential. Let's hope everybody is back and healthy. And I wish you all the best of health. And as always, up the mighty Villa.